Hello everyone. Good day. My name is John Ray Villaseran, and for now I will be discussing to you discussion number 2, which is about concurrency within operating system framework. So let me start by discussing to you or presenting to you the definition of concurrency. So according to operating system lecture 2230 from the University of Western Australia, concurrency is the interleaving of processes in time to give the appearance of simultaneous execution. So take note of the phrases, it is only to give the appearance of simultaneous execution, which is actually in contrast to parallelism, which offers the true simultaneous execution. So the next slides, I will be providing to you two scenarios. So it is actually an analogy of concurrency and the single processor system. So for the first scenario, it is an analogy for the single processor in which in here we have a paper cutter. So for the first one, this paper cutter is only allowed to cut one paper at a time. So given the two papers, we are required to cut it into 8, so that is 4 for each paper. So the first paper will now be cut or processed by the paper cutter, and the resulting time spent to cut it is 4 seconds. And then we will process the second paper, and the resulting time spent to cut it is another 4 seconds for a total of 8 seconds. So that is for the single. And for the second scenario, in which this is an analogy to our concurrency. So this paper cutter is now allowed to cut multiple papers at a given time. So again, given the two papers, it will be processed by this concurrent paper cutter, and that as you observe, the total time spent to cut this is cut into or shortened to 4 seconds. So it is clear with this example that concurrency addressed the uh, time or reduced the time spent to process the paper. So concurrency's benefit is actually efficiency. So efficiency and the improvement of the overall performance of the operating system is the reason why we introduce concurrency. So the next slide will now be providing to you the uses of the concurrency. So concurrency is actually for multi-user operating systems where different users execute programs concurrently. So this example is actually for databases in wherein there are different users who access the system. And then for the next one, single user operating systems where input or output activities go simultaneously with program execution. So for this one, an example is a simple computer, a Windows computer, where users like us execute different programs, browse, and do everything to the PC, and we also input different activities to that. And for the last one is that some processors whose activities are concurrent. So an example for this are enterprise systems where they have built-in operating systems whose processors are actually doing different activities concurrently. So this ends my presentation or discussion for discussion number 2. Thank you very much for listening.